Okay, gotta say, this one has me really curious. A self-help book, right? But written by a teenager. That's not your everyday thing, is it?
Hmm.
Growing Beyond the Syllabus, that's the one, yeah. So, got the excerpts, got the appendix you sent over, let's dive in. Honestly, though, first thought, okay, how much life wisdom can someone that young really have? But hey, I'm always up for a new perspective, and who knows, maybe this teen's onto something big.
Well, it jumps right in, that's for sure. The whole idea that being a teenager today, it's a different ballgame, pressure-wise,
Yeah.
even beyond, the usual growing pains and all that.
Exactly. The book even mentions, like, the phrase self-help for teens almost makes you roll your eyes a little. It's almost cliche, right? But the author's point is spot on. Being a teenager now, it's a whole other beast. They even call it this, like, pressure of just existing in these times. That really hit me, I gotta say.
And it's true. When you think about it, just the academic pressure alone is huge. Then pile on the whole social media comparison thing, what with the pandemic and how that's messed with how people develop socially. That's a lot. Stuff previous generations didn't have to deal with.
Which is why the book makes this point that young people now,
Mm.
they might just experience things, process them in ways older generations don't quite get.
100%. And the book uses this analogy, right? Identical twins. It's a great example. Same environment growing up, but they make wildly different life choices. Just shows you how much our age, our own experiences, really color how we see things. It's like the whole debate about screen time. An adult might think, oh, it's just leisure, but for a teenager, it's how they connect, how they express themselves, sometimes even how they escape. It's everything.
That's such a good point. And it's not about saying one generation's right or wrong. It's just acknowledging that people see the world differently. And this actually leads perfectly into one of the book's big things. Finding guidance, yeah, but from the right people, not just anyone.
Which is where that third ray idea comes in. I thought it was brilliant.
I gotta admit, when I first saw that, I was a bit confused. For our listeners, can you break that down a bit? What does that even mean, the third ray?
So basically, it means when you've got a tough choice, right? You need a third perspective, not just the obvious two. Say you're thinking about a career change, you'd ask your folks, your friends, but the third ray, that's finding someone who's been there, done that, and gets your values, experience, and empathy.
So it's about that sweet spot. Someone who gets where you're coming from, but has that experience to back it up.
Exactly. And for teens especially, the book argues this is crucial. So many young people go online for advice because they're worried about being judged by adults. The third ray, it's like a bridge. It gets those generations talking more openly.
Makes total sense. Speaking of surprises, I gotta say, when I saw this teen self-help book was diving into financial literacy, eyebrows went up.
Right, not exactly the first thing you think of with teenagers. But what got me was it wasn't about getting rich quick or anything. It was about how getting finances, understanding them, connects to personal independence. And that is powerful, especially for young people.
And they made it interesting even for me, which is saying something. Like those compound interest lessons in school. Total snooze fest, right? But this book actually made it click, especially that bonus dilemma example, where you've got to pick between two different bonus structures.
Oh, that was a good one. It really showed how our brains, they just don't get exponential growth sometimes. We see that immediate gain and that's all we focus on. But then they show you how those little differences over time, huge. Eye-opening.
Exactly. It really drove home the point that even if it's small, doing something consistently down the line, that's where you see the big results. And it's not just money, is it? It's like habits, skills, anything you're putting in the time and effort for.
Absolutely. Consistent effort over time, that's the message. It's telling young people, like, play the long game. Doesn't matter if it's your personal life, your career, whatever. Think long term.
Funny you mentioned careers, because it made me realize this book isn't just about managing money. It's managing your time, too. And not in a vague, get-organized way. No, I'm talking practical tips for how teens actually live now in this day and age.
Totally. And they really got into it. Like, they talked about social media, right? How it plays into our schedules, how much attention we even have. One thing that stuck with me was that statistic about waking up, like, 2 hours earlier.
Oh, yeah. 2 hours early. It's like adding a whole other month to your year. I'll be honest, I'm no morning person.
Oh, well, yeah.
But that image made me think twice about hitting that snooze button, I'll tell you.
It's all about realizing time is valuable, maybe the most valuable thing we've got. And this book, it doesn't just preach, it gives you frameworks. They break down stuff like the Pomodoro technique, the Eisenhower matrix, but in a way that makes sense for a teen.
See, that's what impressed me.
Yeah.
This wasn't just like motivational fluff. This was real world stuff, actual advice you can use. And it got me thinking, there's this thread running through it all, isn't there? The financial stuff, the time management, even the third-rate thing. It's all about taking ownership, isn't it?
You got it. The whole book, it's about being responsible, having agency. It wants teens to figure out their strengths, their weaknesses, what their goals are, and then make choices that fit those goals, even when it's tough. It's about realizing you have the power to shape your future.
Exactly. And that is huge, especially for young people. Think about it. They're always being told what to do, what to think. This is about saying, no, you are the architect. This is your life.
Mm.
And you know what really struck me? The author's voice. It was so conversational, relatable. Like I was just chatting with a friend about this stuff, not stuck in some lecture, you know?
Totally. It was the right tone for sure. And not just like surface level chat either. There was real depth there. The way they brought in all this research, insights from different places, psychology, philosophy, it showed they put thought into this, more than some seasoned writers even.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of which, did you get a load of that appendix? The citations alone. Talk about doing your homework.
Right. It wasn't just, here's my opinion. They went and backed it up, which I appreciated.
Makes you think, huh. We started this whole thing wondering what a teenager could really teach us about life. And now, I'm kind of blown away by how mature, how insightful this book is. What surprised you most looking back?
Honestly, it was how they just went for it, with the tough stuff, like the pressure of exams. They weren't afraid to be real about it. Even cited statistics about college acceptance rates, stuff from India even. But then they'd tie it back to this message of like, hey, you're going to be okay. You can get through this. It was really well done.
Right. And those personal experiences, they connected them to the bigger picture so smoothly. Like with the social media stuff, it wasn't just, oh, it's bad, even though they definitely talked about that. But they also brought up the good sides, how we could all use it more mindfully, which honestly, who doesn't need that reminder these days?
It's all about balance, isn't it? And that's what this book does so well. It makes you think critically, question what you think you know. By the end of it, you feel like you can actually do something, make positive changes.
Couldn't have put it better myself. I think we're definitely walking away from this deep dive with our eyes a little wider, that's for sure.
For sure. And you know what makes you realize? If a teenager can see this stuff so clearly, the pressures, how complicated finances are, this need for balance when we're all so connected, what does that say about the adults, right? The ones who are supposed to be guiding them?
Oof, yeah, that's a good point. Makes you think maybe this book isn't just for teens, huh? Maybe it's for anyone who feels like they need that fresh take on life, on growing as a person, especially in this crazy world we're living in.
100%.
So as we wrap this up, here's a thought for everyone listening, something to chew on. Maybe it's time we all embrace that growing beyond the syllabus idea, Doesn't matter how old you are, because life, it's all about learning as you go, and there are lessons to be learned everywhere, even in the most unexpected places.